Hello there, and welcome to a new build for Age of Wonders 4, and this time I went with Elementals again. I have had a pretty long break since my last Elemental build, and this one rolls with the High Culture, and oh my god, what have I done? These guys are insanely successful, as I don't even know where I want to start. But Elemental builds always did that for me. I felt like they were among the most unbalanced builds in the game. Don't know. Let me know what you think. Let's move on and describe what we got here. So, High Culture, we're utilizing here mainly the Awakening trait for our elementals to give them a hefty smack on their base attacks. End of the story. You're just upgrading the rest of your roster a little bit with that, but at the end of the day, this build just enjoys the base damage increase on the elementals. That's not. Beyond that, we have a good city stability and knowledge income, and boy will we use that. I have chosen here, trade-wise, the mana channelers because it makes summoning spells so much cheaper. It gives you an extra rank on your magic origin units, and oh my, it's just so much payoff on that one. The other one that I went for is Keepers of Knowledge, and you need that because of the affinities. We're here playing a bit of a weird build in terms of tome distribution. We're even picking a tier 1 where we could pick a tier 2. But at the end of the day, we need this to get into our tier 3 tomes. Besides that, Keepers of Knowledge is a really cool one for the high culture in general. You could also change it with Cult of Personality or something like that. Whatever tickles your fancy, but you need that Shadow Affinity point. You ironically don't need the Arcane Affinity point here, but the trait is just too powerful. Now, for the race themselves, I went for a ranged combination. That is, Keen-Sighted and Arcane Focus. Most of our racial units that we're going to use in the long run are backliners. Supporters and battle mages make up the majority of your cultural units later on, so I felt like this is a really good fit for this build. Cheerful is just a nice one to have. Personally, can't decide anymore. All these 1-point traits are pretty good. Morale gain is really nice, 8 HP more are really nice, but also is more XP gain. So I really leave it up to you. Personally went for the extra crits here because I liked them. So, let's talk tomes. So I'm starting out here with this build with the Tome of Evocation. Mostly because the combination of spells here is just very good. We gain Lightning Focus, which is, in the long run, integral for our build. We have so many battle mages and supporters that I had no chance but to pick this up because obvious reasons. Lightning Blades makes up a really nice add-on for your frontliners. The plus 20% against electrified units, you really notice that in the long run, and yeah, it's pretty good. Storm Spirits. These guys are, despite the fact that they are not fitting to the dormant enchantment and awakening shtick of the high culture, well able to be awakened and get that plus 3 on their attack. Long story short, they hit like trucks, they're really hard to kill with ranged attacks, and they eventually evolve into Storm Spirits, which are, wow, these are really cool units. The Evoker is more or less a dead end for this build. I regret researching him because you just have too many interesting alternatives. You can't skip that unit altogether. Don't be like me, just don't. Fulmination and Lightning Torrent, yeah, options to make the life horrible for your enemy. The Channeling Towers give you mana, and I can only say mana is something you really eat up like candy with this build. Next up, Tome of Rock. We picked this up for the Stone Spirits first and foremostly, in all honesty. They just replace our tier 1 shield units so good, and eventually they evolve into tier 3 shield units, which is just exactly what we want. Obsidian Weapons makes your frontline even more deadly. The stacking bleeding, I realized in the long run, is really much more powerful than I anticipated in the first place. Seriously, this really racks up some damage. Earthkin, super nice for your backliners to survive longer. Stone Skin and Rock Blast are pretty cool in-battle options, but as you see there, I didn't even research them because I was constantly mana broke, so I wasn't able to spellcast too much. The Gargoyle, I wouldn't recommend them too much, as we have the Storm Spirits, but if you need somebody on the some shock trooper that is hard to kill and has a good self-sustain, I think they might fit a niche if they are needed, especially since they are also flying and tier 2 right from the get-go, unlike the other guys, which are tier 1. It's a bit of a downside. So, when comes tier 2, we pick up Tome of Summoning. I think every elemental build has too much benefit out of this to leave it out. First up, Arcane Restoration. I mean, seriously, at some point, this is almost a battlefield-wide heal for all of your elementals. Sick shit. Sorry for the wording, but it's really, really that good. So Arcane Supercharge is also something that you can use to make your elementals go Super Saiyan. Really good stuff too. And Astral Serpent and Astral Keeper give you options to just... Well, I'm not a big fan of the Astral Serpent, as we have already enough summoning things here. They're really hard to kill though. Unlike the ones that you meet on the random battlefield, these are tier 3. The ones that you meet on the map usually are tier 1. So these guys are pretty hard to kill and all, but I felt like they didn't feel elementally enough for me. The Astral Keepers can be summoned in battle. They are dirt cheap. Look at that. 10 mana. And they can shoot a bit and heal a bit, which is amazing. They also can make you quite good on the revenge part. Arcane Bond allows you to dominate the enemy's magic units, and yeah, altogether, we also get a summoning will on top of that, which gets amplified by conduits and research posts. We have so many of these. We have so many of these on the build. This is really, really cool. Now comes the next tier 2 tome, but I didn't find any tier 2 tome that did anything too good for this build, so I went back to Cryomancy. Cryomancy is amazing for this build. The Snow Spirits are skirmisher units which get to double dip into all the arrow and blade upgrades, all the ones that you got so far. Well, basically only the one out of this tome, but nevertheless, they get it both. And they evolve into nice Snow Spirit skirmishers eventually, which can stun people and are really good at dealing damage. Again, the High Culture has no direct buff for skirmisher units, like they have for all the other troops, but still, the +3 on spirit damage makes them so much more deadly. So, Frost Blades and Frost Arrows, I think I don't need to say much more about that, and besides, we hit even harder with that. Also, White Witches. Unlike the Evokers, these serve a niche use in your build. We have tier 3 cultural battle mages, which have already an AoE nuke, that's why the Evokers aren't that interesting. But the Freezing Blast of these ladies is a single target stun, which is really, really good. So this gives them a real good use even in the long run. So if you want any tier 2 battle mages out of these books, go for the White Witches, not for the Evokers. Personal verdict of mine. Blizzard and Ice Coffin are useful spells. I don't think I need to say much more about them. They deal damage. School of Cryomancy, though. This was one which I really enjoyed on this build. It is yet another knowledge building, and you will really notice how much research posts you can build with this build. And yeah, we will also gain benefits out of that eventually, because after this tome, we get into tier 3, and we now have exactly enough affinity for the Cold Dark tome. This gives us Snow Spirits, so we can now directly summon these tier 3 skirmishes, which is really cool. They have a tendency to die real fast, because they just aren't too robust. But since we are summoning them really cheap, we don't mind. So cool. I really like that. Besides that, we get Frostling Transformation, which is amazing as it makes us immune against Frozen. This is one of the... We are basically immune against one hard crowd control source in the game. Really cool. Morale bonus on cold terrain. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Frost resistance is the biggest... the frost resistance and the freeze immunity are, to me personally, the biggest takeaways from this one. So we don't gain too many wows. Flash Freeze is pretty cool as it alters terrain and hurts the enemy, and gives status resistance debuffs. It's a real power card among these map spells. It's a terraforming spell and a map nuke at the same time, which is pretty unique. Marching Winter. Put that on your cities, please, because you will benefit so much out of that. And forget about Veil of Darkness, because, I don't know. Against the AI, it doesn't do much. Frost Spires. So, now we are also gaining more synergy out of all that snow and ice. More than before. The knowledge output now at this point of your build will be insane, because you just can plaster your cities with so many knowledge generating special province improvements. I love that. The other tier 3 that I want to go towards to is Amplification. We get so much goodness out of that. Frenzying Focus makes your battle mages and supporters finally hit like the trucks that they are, well, or something like that, 50% more damage eventually. Amplified Arrows makes your tier 1 archers finally hit like trucks too, and your skirmishers also benefit from that massively. So here again, nice double dipping. We are mostly getting benefit for the skirmishes out of that. Don't rely on your tier 1 archers, they are not really good for the late game. Amplify Minds, yeah, extra knowledge income again. Did anybody ask for more knowledge? Astral Blood for more crits whenever we cast spells, which is just what I like to see, and Chain Lightning and Amplification Pylon for some more burst. As you see there, we have a lot of nuke spells in this build too, and yet another conduit to build so we get more synergy effects. After that, I recommend Astral Convergence. We are not able to dip into the deep layers of the Materium. We can only go into tier 3 Materium. Tier 4 Materium is not in it for us, but we have Astral. Here we gain Astral Attunement, which is one heck of a transformation. So whenever we cast a spell, we gain a random positive status effect. Make good usage out of that. The ethereal unit type also is amazing, as we are now immune against many damage over time effects. Pass through is really good. We only have a bit of a lightning resistance issue, but meh, could be worse. Cascading Power makes you get, again, so much more payoff out of all your unit enchantments already that give you some or transformations that give you some payoff whenever you cast spells. Cascading Power makes it stronger the more spells you cast in battle. Arcane Maelstrom is really cool when you go for sieging cities, as it will nuke the enemy each turn. I really love that. Explosive Manifestation is a battlefield summon. We have 2 of these in this build, which I really love. And yeah, we have here yet another option to destroy enemies' terrain. We have 2 terrain manipulators. I really like this build. After this, I don't know. Astral Mirror is a tome that I don't like, but we don't have access to any other tier 4 tomes that I would like too much, so I'll leave it up to you to backtrack into anything that tickles your fancy. Honorable mentions here go to the Tome of Winds, for example, which brings you Wind Ragers, which are really cool summonable units. But apart from that, your build is kind of complete-ish. I was looking at the where is it again? The Tome of the Stormborn, which is one that we would have access to, but I was so disappointed. You know, for one Naga transformation is a competing major racial transformation, so we can't combine it with the ethereal one. And the benefits out of this book are just, I don't know, it's just not convincing me. The Stormbringers are really good. Don't get me wrong, they are the major takeaway out of that. You are eligible for this book, but I wouldn't recommend it too much, because I feel like the payoff towards almost all of the lower tomes here would be higher compared to what we got there. Sadly, we weren't able in this build to rack up enough affinities for the Tome of Calamity, which would be really good fit in my opinion. But yeah, if you lack any options, Astral Mirror isn't a horrible pick either. You have a lot of nice utility, but the problem of the Astral Mirror Tome is that, yeah, nice is just not enough. The thing here is Mirror Veil makes your rock elementals really annoying to kill. That's one major takeaway, but the rest of that is just very situational stuff. And if you don't know what to pick, I'd be recommending Tome of Winds, or even going back to something like Tome of Artificing, which would be adding in a massive critical hit amplification and siege magic. Whatever you do, you are free to choose from that point on, as elemental builds have interesting power just with the tools they got. So, strategy-wise, with your roster, you're not going to work that much. Tier 1 is just absolutely ignorable, in my humble opinion, in the long run, so don't spend too much money on these. You want tier 2 ASAP. If the Sun Priests are the backbone of your support. Twin Awakening gives you the opportunity to get some extra damage on everybody you want. They also have a really good healing spell. Per turn, they can awaken up to 3 units in the ideal case. And they also have a really considerable range attack because we have that magic damage amplification trait on our race. As a awakened priest that scores a crit can easily go into 30 to 40 damage. It's pretty amazing for supporters. So the Daylight Spears are personally really the troops that I like to fill in if I know what to fill in between, as they take a considerable while to die. They dip into all the cool unit enchantments that we got, but besides that, they're hard to kill. That's their major takeaway. Like I said, Evokers are the inferior option to the White Witches. White Witches are just better because of the stun and Awakeners. So Awakeners are the ranged backbone damage dealers. They get a really decent range attack. I mean, this is already pretty interesting and it gets only better. And Exposing Light allows you to soften up entire stacks of enemy troops from a considerable range. That's the reason why you don't need the Evokers. The skill is just so much better. And also, as an icing on the cake, they also get to awaken people. So there's literally no reason to hang around with these tier 2 battle mages besides prize reasons. And when you have prize reasons, again, White Witches. There we go. So, the rest of the troops here that, let's go down here, that we're using are obviously elementals. Here, the shock elementals eventually evolve into storm spirits. Their major advantage is the wind barrier that also the small ones already got. This is amazing, as they are almost invulnerable against ranged attacks due to that. I really love this one. They also get a lot of extra damage, and since you can just re-summon a new one super cheap, like, check this out, they only cost you 30 mana on this build. You really don't have to worry about losing any of these. They are expendable troops for this build, and that's absolutely fine. And the other dude here is the Stone Spirit. Here comes a similar thing. They're vulnerable against Spirit, so that's their basically their only real weakness. They eventually transform into their big brothers. In their small form, the only thing that's worth saying about them is that they can slow enemies when they're punching them, which is an interesting quality. So, the big ones have a teleport ability and can do a quake afterwards, which is amazing. The problem about this is just that these guys, we don't have the tome to summon them into tier 3 form, so use them wisely. Losing these is actually a real loss, so just saying. But besides that, they're amazing frontliners that can dive behind the enemy lines or just stand in front, tank, deal damage. A very, very versatile unit, and can also slow. So, we do also have the Snow Spirits eventually, which basically fill in the role of archers here. They don't have a regular available ranged attack. That's the big downside. What do you do? Sorry, I haven't researched that on this run yet. So here, their Freezing Burst is available only every third turn and has a relatively high cooldown. So these Snow Spirits, they are not so much to be understood as ranged fighters. It stays the same for their evolved version. Their evolved version just has a much higher chance to freeze. So altogether, the Ice Elementals are more of melee troops with an alternative ranged attack every now and then. So, when it comes down to the heroes, I went here for a Mortal Champion because I wanted that experienced leader trait everywhere. I picked that up as the very first thing, basically, because you want to train your elementals as quick as you can. The logistics training is also very handy to keep the mana costs low. Altogether, you see here on my income table, mana is much more of an issue compared to gold. So you can use gold, if it looks like this, either to fund non-elemental armies to defend your turf, or put it into your cities to develop them. I went here for Ritualists, because Ritualists capable to support you by healing or summon even more troops to have even more of an advantage. I felt like these were really cool as the spirit summoning abilities here that you see give you exactly elementals that synergize with all the things that you do. Also, the Mortal Champion comes with a command ability, which is, I personally find this among the most powerful hero abilities in the game currently. Because getting the ability to have your units act more often is priceless. Getting the ability to have that for free, really cool. Getting alternatively the ability to have two units being activated again. Wow. It's just bonkers. So, I also want to mention Astral Signature is really cool for the status resistance ignore thingy, which makes it easier to freeze people. Just saying. Okay, so we got all that covered. You are not too much relying on the cultural roster, but you're basically a mana addict. It's so hard to get those unit enchantments going while maintaining elemental summoning, so you want to get your mana income as quick up as possible. At the same time, your cities are pretty amazing in so far as you have access to so many different upgrades here. The high culture comes with the sun shrine, which amplifies itself via adjacent research posts. So with some planning, I mean, you have the sun shrine, you have the school of cryomancy, you have the frost spire, you have already 3 research provinces that you can build in every city that you want to. On top of that come other things that give you natural research posts like extra magic resources and such and wonders. So this build excels at producing knowledge at insane speeds. Also, since you're not relying too much on unit training, you can utilize that by spending your gold into hurrying productions to get more payoff into that direction. Also, scholars guilds are really, really brutally good for this build. So, yeah, I feel like elemental builds are pretty bonkers. This one, it's a pretty good one. The fit into the ice elemental direction is, I was surprised how much it fits into the high culture shtick, because they just get so much payoff out of all these sun shrines and the extra research post upgrades. It's amazing. Apart from that, yeah, there's not much more to say that besides that you really should get yourself the training ability on all of your heroes wherever you can. This is just really, really good. I went with all ritualists here, but that is not necessary. I think this build rides well with pretty much every hero type, in all honesty. I would always go with at least one ritualist for the early game to fill the gap where you don't have enough sun priests to get your support game going. That's why I chose a ritualist to begin with. But after that, I think this build can utilize any type of hero. There's really nothing that you need to worry about. Yeah, that's it. This is crazy. I can only recommend it. Elemental builds, I personally feel like they feel so unfair, because these guys, they just stack up so horribly fast. I had my first tier 3 elementals up and running in an obscenely early stage of the game, and we also gain from the Imperium side a really, really nice combination of order and shadow, enough to get many extra whispering stones, and enough to make friends for the Rally of Legions to support that. We also have a deep access into the Arcane Tree and the Rite of Astral Abundance. Use it. When you have access to that and you have the Imperium available for that and you need to make a move on the map, this is basically what you can do. Because, yeah, don't worry to go into negative income for a while, because this one will carry you a while. Also, we gain Shadow Binding eventually, which is, for this build, just a godsend. So, I don't have much more to say. thanks for watching, you all. So I hope you enjoyed this build. Elemental builds are massively fun, massively powerful, and I don't know, they just feel more powerful than most of the other builds. Let me know what you think, and feel free to drop me a comment, leave a like, leave a subscribe. Check out the description box full of links and stuff that might be interesting for you. Thanks a lot for supporting the channel, all of you who do, and thanks a lot for watching this video. Leave me in the comments whatever you want to see next. I really love all the recommendations, and see you all next time. Bye bye.